No, Lord, because I had a separate reason to carve out Ladakh as a separate UT.
You may. No difficulty. That's your decision. That's why I'm saying this less complicated
Yes.
by its nature. Carving out a UT.
Here it's less complicated.
Reducing both parts of the carved out and the pre-carved out. So suppose Assam, you carved out a UT. But you say no, we carve out a portion of the Assam as UT and also convert Assam into a UT. That's the testing proposition.
Lord, it would be an extreme Lord, example, but for the purpose of testing, Lord, there can be two answers. A, separation would be necessary, and if separation takes place, Lord, that doesn't take place if one state is declared UT. So one state cannot be declared.
What is troubling me? Whether
Your Lordships are right, my Lord. One state possibly, my Lord, under 3 cannot be declared as UT. But here, it is nobody's case that we declared Ladakh as UT to come out of this embargo. It's nobody's case. We had separate reasons.
Mr. Solicitor, there may be another way of looking at it. Apropos the theme with which you began, which is the general situation in Jammu and Kashmir. As we see, the creation of union territories post-independence, you have on the one hand examples like Chandigarh, which was carved out during the Punjab Reorganization Act and remained a union territory. It is a permanent union territory.
It was a part of state.
It was a part of a state and became a union territory to be the common capital for 2 sister states. That one. Then you have a progression where certain areas of existing states became union territories in the progression of making them states. That's the Northeast. For instance, you have Mizoram, you have Manipur, you have Tripura. They were part of states. They become union territories, but that's in the process of making them into a stable administration to become states. You can't immediately make them states. Parliament can certainly make that. Today, the situation is not right to make them full-fledged states. Today, we will carve them out, give them the status of a union territory at a future point of time when Parliament feels that, well, they now are sufficiently stable institutionally, we will make them as states, which we did in the Northeast. To put something, perhaps you may look at what we are trying to suggest. Why is it not possible for the union to say that, well, right now, say in a case of a particular state, we have such an extreme situation in terms of national security, in terms of, other...
we want direct control.
That we want for a certain stipulated period that a union territory should be created. But this creation of a union territory is not a feature of permanence. But this shall then again progress back to its position of a state.
Removing the reasons why it was required to be converted.
The union not have a control for a certain stipulated period to bring stability, because ultimately, let's face it, whether it's a state, whether it's a union territory, all of us have survived, the nation survives.
Yes.
Right?
Doubtlessly.
If the nation itself doesn't survive, there's no question, there's no relevance of states or union territories. So is it not should we not give that allowance to Parliament to sort of postulate that for a certain period, in the interest of the preservation of the nation itself, in the interest of the preservation of the union itself, we want for a certain stipulated period that this particular state should go into the fold of union territory on the clear understanding that this shall revert to a position of a state over a period of time. You can't lay down that period in a given case. In a given case, it may be 6 months. In a given case, it may be 1 year. But that progression, I think the government has to also make a statement before us.
Look,
that progression back to a state has to take place. It can't be a union territory in permanence.
I'm grateful, my lord. That's exactly, I'll read, my lord, after the lunch. That's exactly the statement made on the floor of the House. I'll read, my lord, that statement. That this is not a permanent feature. After the situation returns to normalcy, we want it to become a state again. I'll read, my lord, that statement.
And then after lunch, we would also have we don't want to bind you down to because we are conscious of the fact that these are matters of national security. We understand that, ultimately the preservation of the nation itself is the overriding concern. But without putting you in a sense of a bind, both you and attorney may seek instructions at the highest level. Is there some time frame in view?
Time frame. I'll take instructions once followed from your lordships, but I'll show the statement made on the floor and the efforts made. And the statement is, once the efforts are fruitful and everything is normal, Then, my lord, there is a, but I'll...
Equally, Mr. Solicitor and Mr. Attorney, restoration of democracy is a very important...
Absolutely.
It's a vital
My lord,
component for our nation.
In 2020...
We can't have a situation where you have...
My lord, only one thing, my lord, give me a second more. In 2020, for the first time in the history, the local government elections took place. 34,000 people are now elected people, which is possible only because of...
Therefore, the progression, we take your point. We take your point that the progression has already begun.
Yes, madam. No hartal, no stone pelting, no curfew.
At least situation is normal, my lord.
But
No, I am not only on, my lord, election and politics. I am on, my lord, national integrity. My lord, what fell from your lordships before the lunch break. Lord, I have taken instructions. My lord, hurry. Lord, the instructions are that UT is not a permanent feature.
For Kashmir, Jammu and Kashmir.
Yes. Yes, my lord. Not
Not Ladakh.
Ladakh. Ladakh would remain UT. My lord. That's what we have understood, my lord. But we'll meet personally, my lord, learned AG and me, and we will make a statement. But I must tell your lordships, my lord, so far as Ladakh, as my lord, I have already pointed out that local body in terms of district development council elections took place in 2020. And so far as Ladakh is concerned, it consists of two units. Units, my lord, is a loose word I am using. That is Leh and Kargil.
Kargil.
Lord, election to Ladakh Autonomous Hill Development Council, Leh, is held in October 2020 for 26 seats. And for Kargil, it is going to be held on 10th of September 23. 512 is Rajya Sabha, my lord. अगर सभापति महोदय की आज्ञा हो तो मैं पूरी कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल पोजीशन सदन के सामने रखने को तैयार हूं। एक माननीय सदस्य ने पूछा कि कब तक यह यूटी रहेगा। मैं माननीय श्री सोएनसो और जिन अन्य माननीय सदस्यों ने यूटी के बनने पर आपत्ति दर्ज की है, मैं निश्चित रूप से उनको आश्वस्त करना चाहता हूं कि जैसे ही नॉर्मल परिस्थिति हो जाएगी, उचित समय आएगा, इसको फिर से स्टेट बनाने में हमें कोई एतराज नहीं। But if your lordship sees holistically Article 3 and Article 4, and I am saying this academically, I am not pitching it, my lord, for this particular case. But lord, there is nothing, if we read as a common scheme of, my lord, reorganization, that one state, for a good reason, the threshold of your lordship satisfaction would be higher, can be converted into UT. Because 4 says some incidental provisions can even include something which may otherwise amount to amendment, but would not be treated as an amendment under 368. Then, my lord, Pradeep Chaudhary, my lord, I am skipping. Your lordships.
1 and 2 were made applicable to Jammu and Kashmir. No?
Yes, what happened was, during the first arguments of the petitioners, they pointed out the Article 3 as applicable to the state of Jammu and Kashmir, which provided that nothing can be done without consent of Jammu and Kashmir Assembly, without pointing out to your lordships that before this Reorganization Act was placed before the House, the entire constitution was made applicable. Therefore, that proviso goes. Now, what Article 3 your lordships have applied, my lord, when this reorganization took place. Lord, I hope I am able to make myself clear. What was shown was the earlier constitution as applicable to Jammu and Kashmir, Article 3 as applicable to Jammu and Kashmir, which provided for a mandatory consent. But first, the president issued 272, CO 272, applied the whole constitution, meaning thereby what we are reading now as Article 3 was Article 3 when reorganization took place.
What's the date of reorganization?
It was passed on 6th of August. Lord, this is, Berubari is considered. Lord, Berubari, your lordships are aware, my lord, has no application. A part of India was being ceded to some other country. That was the concept. That was the fact situation arising in Berubari. There was a mistake in Berubari, which 5-judge bench in Ram Kishore notes and corrects. And thereafter, there is an amendment to the constitution, knowing that now there was a mistake in Berubari. I'll show, my lord. Please come to para 91 at page 164. Only, my lord, the relevant parts I have quoted and I'll read. This is a 5-judge bench, my lord, speaking to my lord Justice Gajendra Gadkar. Then, my lord, Raja Rampal, only one line, my lord, I'll now coming down to one line, my lord, kindly, my lord, appreciate. It says India is an indestructible union of destructible units. Raja Rampal, my lord, again, 5-judge bench. Law, my lord, I am pointing out. I am not pitching that argument that high, my lord. What we have done is, as a temporary measure, as it is clear from day one, the parliamentary debates, that we have created 2 units, namely 2 union territories, and 1 union territory is with legislature, the power vested with the power of police with the center. Because of the very peculiar nature of the situation arising since decades. Rest everything they have, what state has.
Pointed out 2 instances where it has happened. First was Punjab. That was a very peculiar problem. Punjabi Suba movement, etc. More or less everybody was agreeable. Probably it could not muster through the legislative assembly.
No, there was no assembly.
It
was during governor's rule.
No, I understand that, but earlier it could not muster through the division of Punjab between Haryana and then parts of Punjab going to a union territory first, even Himachal Pradesh, then Himachal Pradesh itself becoming a state. And then probably Cochin and Travancore is the other example which was given. The third is this. This is a way, because once you suspend the proviso, then virtually the power of the state governments are taken away. The representation of the state is represented by the will of the people of the larger country.
Correct.
Can lead to...
That is, my lord, touched upon in Bomai, SR Bomai. My lord, please come to page 173. Even this question was, my lord, considered in Bomai judgment. We read Bomai judgment for a different issue. But this was also one of the consideration, one of the factors which fell for consideration of the court. Page 173, where the court considers what is the scope and ambit of the state's views